All right, let's head back to the court of King Shahryar, where, once again, Shahrazad's very life is on the line. Her survival depends entirely on the magic of her words. As dawn gets closer, she has to spin a tale so good, so captivating, that it will keep the king hooked for just one more day. Let's see what she's got for us tonight. So here we are on the 29th night, and Scheherazade picks up her story at the most critical moment imaginable. Remember, the lives of the tailor, the Jewish doctor, the Nazarene broker, and even the hunchback's owner are all hanging by a single fragile thread. Everything depends on the story that's about to be told.
The King of China has thrown down the gauntlet. It's simple, really. The tailor has to tell a story that is even wilder, even more unbelievable than the crazy tale of the hunchback. If he pulls it off, they all live. If he fails, well, the executioner is waiting. No pressure, right?
And so the tailor begins. He tells everyone about a feast he was at just that very day. And at this feast, he met this incredibly charming, handsome young man from Baghdad. I mean, this guy was the total package, except for one thing. He walked with a pretty bad limp. And then, when a certain barber walked into the room, the young man's whole vibe changed. He looked terrified and tried to get out of there fast.
Everyone at the feast was totally confused. I mean, what could a barber possibly do to make someone hate him that much? And that's when the young man spills it. That barber, right there, was the reason for his injury. He was the whole reason he had to leave his home in Baghdad, swearing he would never, ever live in the same city as that man again.
The young man's story starts, as so many do, with a secret love affair. He was madly in love with the daughter of the city's highest judge, the Qadi, and he'd finally set up a secret meeting. To get ready, he needed a quick shave. But, and this is key, he specifically asked for a barber who was quiet, sensible. Someone who could just get the job done and be discreet.
But what he got was an absolute nightmare. It was the same barber from the feast, and instead of just, shaving him, the barber launches into this huge, flowery speech and pulls out an astrolabe to check the alignment of the planets. I mean, you ask for a quiet trim, and you get a cosmic lecturer who won't shut up. The difference is just staggering. And get this, his self-awareness is, well, it's non-existent. He introduces himself as the Silent One, claiming he's famous for being a man of few words. This, he says, is completely different from his 6 brothers, who are all apparently huge talkers.
I mean, just listen to this lineup. His brothers are literally named the Chatterer, the Babbler, and the Gabbler. You can't make this stuff up. And the incredible thing is he calls himself the Silent One, while proving with every single word out of his mouth that he's the biggest talker of them all. The irony is just off the charts. So the young man is starting to really panic. The clock is ticking on his secret rendezvous. He gets so desperate he just offers the barber money, tells him, "Here, take this and just go. Forget the shave, just leave." But oh no, the barber is now deeply and very theatrically offended. He goes into another one of his grand speeches about honor and how he promised the young man's dead father he'd always look after him. And he uses this as the perfect excuse to stay and tell a ridiculously long, totally irrelevant story about the best time of the day to perform a bloodletting. The so-called shave is just pure agony. He shaves this tiny little patch, then stops to give a lecture on why you shouldn't rush. Then he pulls out that astrolabe again, does some calculations, and proudly declares that, hey, there's no need to hurry, there are 3 whole hours until prayer time. The young man must be losing his mind. Finally, the young man is at his wit's end, and he tries a new tactic. He tells a half-truth. He says he's in a hurry because he's going to a feast with friends. This, as we are about to find out, was a massive, massive mistake. The second the barber hears the word feast, you can just see the light bulb go on over his head. He immediately sees this as the perfect solution to his problem. He has guests coming over and forgot to make food. He completely forgets about the young man's urgent situation. So, this leads to the most desperate bargain ever. The young man offers the barber literally everything he has prepared for his own feast. All the food, all the wine, even a case of super expensive perfumes. He's like, take it all, just finish my haircut and get out. But you know this guy, right? It's never that simple. The barber insists on inspecting every single dish. He's got to check the chickens, taste the wine, sniff the incense, all while wasting more and more precious time as he carefully critiques the bribe.
Okay, the young man is at his absolute breaking point. He comes up with one last clever plan. He tells the barber to just take all the food and drink now, go deliver it to his own friends, and then come back. He's hoping, of course, that once the barber is out the door, he can finally make a run for it.
Of course, the barber is immediately paranoid. He accuses the young man of trying to trick him, of planning to go off to this feast all by himself and get into trouble. But amazingly, he agrees to the plan, promising to drop off the food and then rush right back to go with the young man. The second the barber is out of sight, the young man doesn't waste a single moment. He bolts out of his house and sprints through the city until he finally gets to the Qadi's home for his secret meeting. He thinks he's finally free. Oh, but he is so wrong. And this is where everything goes completely off the rails. See, the barber didn't actually go home. He just hid in an alley and followed the young man. And at the exact moment he's listening outside the Qadi's door, the Qadi happens to be punishing a slave inside for some small mistake. The barber hears the screams and jumps to the most insane conclusion possible.
The barber's flair for the dramatic kicks into high gear. He doesn't just get concerned. No, he puts on a full-blown production. He rips his own clothes, throws dust all over his head, and starts screaming at the top of his lungs that his master has just been murdered inside the judge's house.
And he doesn't stop there. He runs all the way back to the young man's house, rounds up all of his servants, and leads them on a march back to the Qadi's home, gathering a huge, angry crowd along the way. Before you know it, there's a full-on mob at the judge's door, screaming for blood.
Imagine being the Qadi. You hear all this racket, you open your door, and you see this enormous, furious crowd being led by a half-naked guy covered in dust, all of them accusing you of murdering a man you've never even met. He is utterly bewildered.
And it's at this exact moment, with the young man hiding inside, the innocent Qadi facing a lynch mob, and the barber causing all the chaos, that Scheherazade sees the first light of dawn creeping over the horizon.
And just like that, she stops talking. What a cliffhanger! She leaves the king of China and all of us hanging. How on earth does the young man get out of this mess? How does this whole disaster end up making him lame? And most importantly, is this crazy story enough to save the tailor's life? Well, we're just going to have to wait until the next night to find out.